March 17th, 1943. A single sheet of intelligence briefing lands on the desk of Admiral Wilhelm Canaris, head of German military intelligence. It contains no diagrams, no photographs, no bold claims, just numbers. But those numbers suggest something impossible. The Americans may soon be able to build a 4-engine heavy bomber every hour, not every week, not every day, every single hour. And in that moment, the Abwehr, Germany's most sober-minded analysts, understand a truth the Nazi leadership refuses to accept. The war may already be lost, not on the battlefield, but on the assembly line. Berlin, late winter, 1943. Germany is still fighting across continents, but the tide of war has begun to shift. The Wehrmacht has stalled in Russia. The Afrika Korps is crumbling in North Africa, and Allied bombers are appearing more frequently in German skies. Inside the Abwehr headquarters, Canaris sifts through reports gathered from neutral Spain, Switzerland, Stockholm, Buenos Aires, and covert channels inside the United States. The data points all converge on one place: Willow Run, a massive new factory built by the Ford Motor Company in the flat farmland west of Detroit. Ford, a car maker, has been tasked with building the B-24 Liberator, one of the most complex machines of the war. A bomber made of 1.5 million parts, over 313,000 rivets, 5,200 feet of wiring, and 9 miles of control cables. To the German mind, this borders on absurd. In Germany, aircraft are still crafted like violins, slowly, carefully, by expert hands. Each component adjusted by feel, by sound, by touch. An airplane is a masterpiece, not a product. If Ford actually manages to mass-produce bombers like automobiles, the entire logic of warfare changes. At first, the reports are dismissed as rumors. No one believes it, but the evidence continues to pile up. A Swedish engineer describes a production line so vast it requires railway schedules to synchronize component flow. A diplomat in Washington notices procurement budgets that appear to have a zero added. Japanese naval attachés send messages in a tone that wavers between shock and dread. America's industrial mobilization is accelerating faster than anyone expected. Then the Abwehr receives a detail so strange it's impossible to ignore. The Willow Run assembly line had to bend at a 90-degree turn because building straight through would have crossed into a second county, doubling tax liability. That detail is too specific to be propaganda. It's the kind of odd bureaucratic truth only reality contains. Now the numbers begin to make sense. 65 acres under one roof, 3.5 miles of continuous assembly line, parts arriving by rail every 6 minutes, engines tested in subterranean firing bays, aircraft taking off directly from the plant itself. This is not just a factory. This is industrial warfare. And in the mind of Canaris, that is more dangerous than any army. To grasp what this means, step away from Berlin. Imagine a German officer captured in North Africa being transported across the United States by train. His name is Major Radke. He grew up believing America is soft, decadent, and disorganized. He was taught that democracy breeds weakness, that comfort kills discipline. But as the train crosses Illinois, Ohio, and Michigan, he looks out the window and sees something different. Rail yards stretching farther than towns, freight cranes loading steel even in the middle of the night, factories glowing like ship engines, women in welding masks walking into the night shift, African-American machinists inspecting castings by electric light, farmhands reading blueprints. In his diary, Radke writes one line: Their strength is not in the soldier, but in the worker. He understands what Berlin refuses to see. The United States is not improvising war production. It is weaponizing society itself. What makes Willow Run different is not size alone. It is method. Henry Ford and his production chief, Charles Sorensen, take the B-24 and break it into more than 1,000 sequential manufacturing steps. Each step is short, measurable, and repeatable, taught to workers with no prior aircraft experience. One person drills, another fits, another rivets, another seals, over and over in perfect tempo. This is standardization, the principle that revolutionized the automobile. But at Willow Run, it meets aviation, and something new is born, a machine to build machines. But it's not just the method, it's the people. At its peak, Willow Run employs more than 42,000 workers. Nearly 40% are women, the highest of any major American wartime plant. Thousands are African American machinists, welders, crane operators, inspectors. Many are immigrants. Many have never seen an airplane before. They come from farms, diners, and classrooms. They work 12-hour shifts, 6 days a week. Inside the plant, the air smells of oil and heat. The noise is constant. Drills, rivet guns, engines, footsteps, coffee steams in tin mugs. Lunch breaks happen beside half-finished wings. They call it the arsenal of democracy, a phrase coined by President Roosevelt and brought to life by women with grease-stained hands. Nazi ideology insists such a workforce should fail, that women cannot endure physical labor, that African Americans lack discipline, that democracy cannot coordinate effort. But Willow Run proves all of it wrong, because the factory does not depend on craftsmanship. It depends on process, and process does not care who performs it, only that it is performed. That is the genius of Ford's system, and it terrifies the Abwehr analysts who read the reports. By mid-1943, the impossible becomes reality. Willow Run produces a completed B-24 every 63 minutes. A bomber that once took 200,000 man-hours now rolls out in less than 18,000. Each week, more than 400 engines roar to life. Each month, enough planes leave the runway to form an entire air fleet. No other nation in the world can match this. Not Britain, not Japan, not Germany, where aircraft plants are still repairing the damage from the last Allied raid. The Abwehr cables a final report. If this data is accurate, Germany's defeat is a question of time, not tactics. The report reaches Hermann Göring. He laughs. Americans can build refrigerators and razor blades, he says, but not airplanes. The room laughs with him, because to admit the truth would require changing everything, redirecting steel from tanks to fighters, overhauling pilot training, centralizing aircraft production, abandoning prestige projects like the V-2 rocket, and most of all, accepting that ideology does not outperform mathematics, so nothing changes. And outside the walls of power, the sky begins to darken. February 1944. Operation Big Week. The US 8th Air Force launches daylight bombing on German aircraft production. Thousands of B-17s and B-24s fill the clouds, gleaming silver against the winter sun. German fighter pilots scramble. Many veterans, many among the best in the world. But they face a problem that skill cannot solve. For every American bomber shot down, another takes its place tomorrow. For every German fighter destroyed, there is no replacement pilot. Fuel is rationed. Engines wear out. Factories lie in ruins. This is where the war is lost. Not in a dramatic final battle, but in the steady, crushing rhythm of production. One bomber every hour, one factory that never sleeps. The Luftwaffe burns itself to ash in the sky. When the war ends, the final numbers are unambiguous. Willow Run produced 6,972 complete B-24 Liberators, plus 1,893 assembly kits for other plants. Across all factories, the United States built over 18,400 B-24s and more than 300,000 military aircraft of all types. Germany produced 94,000. Japan, less than half that. The difference did not lie in courage or ideology or willpower. It lay in industrial capacity and the willingness to restructure society to support it. Willow Run stands as the moment when an idea defeated an ideology. The idea that ordinary citizens working in coordinated systems can outproduce authoritarian power. That freedom, when organized, is stronger than fear. After the war, the same principles shaped everything that followed: the jet age, the space race, and the global military-industrial economy. The assembly line that once built bombers would soon build cars, rockets, computers, and satellites. The world is still living inside the system Willow Run proved could exist. When the factory finally shut down in the 1950s, its walls still echo with the memory of engines. For decades afterward, the hangar doors remained open to the wind, a silent monument to an age when blue-collar hands built the backbone of victory. Today, a museum stands on the site. Visitors can walk through the same tunnels where engines once roared. They can touch the rivets, the blueprints, the flight logs, and somewhere in those echoes, they can feel the heartbeat of a nation that built its way out of despair. Because in truth, Willow Run was more than a building. It was a declaration. Every hour, a bomber rose from the Michigan plains. Every hour, a message was sent. Strength is not inherited. Strength is built. The men and women who riveted those wings never fired rifles in combat, but they changed the course of history. They prove that a victory can be manufactured. One bolt, one blueprint, one belief at a time. And long after the last B-24 disappeared into the clouds, the idea of Willow Run kept flying, a reminder that the power to change history doesn't always sit in the cockpit. Sometimes it stands on the factory floor. If you want more stories like this, stories where machines, people, and decisions reshape the world, stay with us at Wartime Legends. There is more to uncover.